Hello Stampers, this is super awesome stamper Shirley Merker. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Wisconsin, USA. In this video, we're going to assemble your April 2026 Kits in the Mail, the flipped triangle. I'll just assemble one more with you, so you'll have a chance to create more after you're done watching the video. So let's go through your kit's contents. 4 pieces of our homemade sweetness pattern paper, cut to size, but then we're going to cut it down. And then there'll be 3 pieces of basic white. So if you line them up, 3 will be the same size. Those are your inserts. There'll be a smaller size that you can use to stamp your sentiments on. And then while I'm talking here, hopefully you have fussy cut your jars prior to the video, or stop the video and maybe fussy cut your jars right now. I tuck your supplies in these cello envelopes. There's 2 of those. And then a strip of the brand spanking new Garden Epoxy dots and strawberries and dots. 3 pieces of crushed curry cardstock already scored. We're going to cut this cardstock into the triangles. And then I ship it in these booklet envelopes. 2-ounce envelopes is what 2 ounces is what is allowed with those postage stamps. So I try to fit as much as I can in there, and then while also making sure that it's less than a 1/4 inch. So those are your supplies. I'm going to bring in a smaller kit for myself. Already ready. Here is our card. And then I use the crushed curry ink pad and the notes and totes to do the just a note right there. So anything along the top would be good. We are going to also add pencil, your favorite adhesives, paper piercing tool to pick up the embellishments, and your paper snip scissors. All right, we're going to need a paper trimmer to start cutting your pieces. So I usually have it going this way. And let's move some stuff out of the way here. Find your cardstock. Figure out how you're going to bend it. Which one's going to be the front? Maybe I'll give a little small tutorial here. So here's the mountain on the score on this side, my right hand side. This is the valley side. So you fold into the mountain. Okay, so the fibers are already broken that way, and that's why the fold is into the mountain. If you do several of each type, fold into the mountain and away from the mountain, you kind of feel those fibers re-break when you fold into the valley. Okay, you are going to line the upper corner of the front of the card and the back bottom left corner into the cutting track. Let's see if I can get that all in here. Maybe if I do it like this, there. Into the cutting track. And let's see, make sure you're in the track on both points. And then you're just going to cut to the score line, which is a little bit iffy. I kind of get close and I pull it up. Make sure you're holding your cardstock down so you don't shift it. And just inch ever so closer to that score. Okay, now you're going to flip the card and line up the other corners in the cutting track. Make sure I'm in the cutting track, holding my cardstock down on the left-hand side. I think I'm shifted it a tiny bit. And again, cut to the score line. A little more. You can kind of pull on your triangle. If it doesn't come out, you need to cut it a little more. There we go. All right, now before we get rid of our paper trimmer, let's cut our pattern paper. Now this is non-directional. If you are wanting the hearts on the front, you are going to make sure that you cut your triangles correctly. So maybe we will go through non-directional first, and then I'll come back and do a directional one. Okay. So, ladybugs, non-directional. And actually, I think we're going to go with the blueberry theme. So I think I want the ladybugs in the center. So the pattern that you want up is the pattern that you want on the front of your card is facing up towards us. And you are going to take your pencil and you are going to mark along the center of this top horizontal piece. So that is 2 3/8 inches. Let's see if I can get that in the screen a little better. Okay, I'm going to mark at the 2 3/8 right there. Not there. I don't have an eraser. Let's see if I got an eraser on this, if it actually works. Get rid of that. All right, and then you cut from the point that you just marked to the bottom diagonal. Ooh, mine, it was right there in the dark blue. Oh, and I moved it a little bit. Let's see, I gotta watch where my fingers are. Bottom point. Okay, there. Okay, and now just rotate a little bit. Your pencil mark in the cutting track, bottom tip in the cutting track. Hold the paper down, cut up. Okay, so now let's just bring this in. This is how they will be placed. Now that triangle is it's a weird triangle. It only fits this way. Wait, is an isosceles the two identical? And this is the two identical lengths, and that's longer than the two. So it only fits one way. Okay, so we're gonna have the ladybugs up with our gingham there. So now let's try to do the same thing with our directional paper. I want the hearts up, got the spoons up there, and we can mark it at 2 3/8 of an inch with the pencil in the cutting track. And now you take, this one's a little easy to see, pencil mark in the cutting track and the bottom left tip in the cutting track. Cut. And then pencil mark in the cutting track and bottom right tip in the cutting track and cut. Okay, so if you pull this in, we're gonna have our hearts going up there. And then this will be right there. And the spoons work either way because the spoons are going either way. Okay, all right, so I said we were gonna do the ladybugs, right? Yeah, the blue ones. I might come back and do that one with you too, now that I've got it cut. Okay, we can set that aside. Although you will have 2 more cardstocks and 1 pattern paper to cut on your own. So maybe you want to do that, stop the video and do that. I'm going to proceed with assembling. All right. The bone folder is our best friend here. There we go. And then all right, there's our ladybugs. Ladybugs, ladybugs. And I am just going to use the liquid glue. Nope, that's not right. There we go. So I can get into the corners. If you like glue dots, a glue dot in each corner will work too and provide a tiny bit of depth. But just a little thin line of glue. I'm looking at the top here, trying to make sure they're even at the top for how much yellow is poking through. Okay, now we will be capping this and working on our triangle here. All right, so I mentioned, all right, I stepped away to make sure that, yes, this is an isosceles triangle. So the two similar sides are going to be pointing down, and then your longer side was in the score of your card. Now, before we tape everything together, I'm going to make sure I don't have to sliver a little bit of that top yellow off, and I do. Can you see that? This point meets the edge of the card base. This point is just a little bit off, which would probably fit in the envelope, but it might crush during mailing. So actually I'm going to bring the paper trimmer back, or I might just cut it off. I'm going to cut it off screen. This is the side I want cut. Okay, let's bring that back in. And it'll just be a tiny, tiny bit. Which isn't usually the easiest thing to make sure we've got straight, but I am just lining it up to the black grayish part before the white sticker. I'm gonna hold it down. And I just took that little sliver off, so that'll make it fit in the envelope a little better. Okay, the next thing with this is that the adhesive is only placed under these flaps. So what I am going to do is put my bone folder there. And I know we just need to put some adhesive there. Actually, just gonna use some tear and tape for this. 2 smaller strips. And I'm going to line up the edge of the triangle to just below that score line. Making sure, yep, it's not going to fall off the edge of the card. And then just pull down. Same thing again. I'm going to put the bone folder there. That way I know not to put adhesive on that side. Just on the upper left-hand side. Just 2 smallish pieces is fine. And then flap down. There. All right, now I mentioned, hopefully you've stopped the video and fussy cut, but I had the blueberries on my mind. blueberries, blueberry jam. Let's bone fold this again. We're gonna pop this up with some dimensionals and then find my piece of inside piece. Oh, that's right here. A note on the inside piece. If you're gonna stamp a sentiment, I would stamp it now. And then adhere it. I'm not gonna stamp anything. So we are just going to adhere it. And then when you add your smaller jars, the jars will be added in that empty space. So I want to make sure I got it in the empty space, like that. So I got my dimensionals. And then the one back here, use 2. And then I'll do some stamping. I really like stamp sets. So this is the stamp set I used. I love this one. That'd be a great one to put on the back of the card. Might just do that. But I like ones that are generic. Don't really say thinking of you, but variations of thinking of you. All right, so where's my scrap? There's my scrap. I'm gonna try to stamp without paper piercing mat. All right, yep, that's good. All right, now you might have noticed this is in a line, whereas this is in 2 lines. So I just use my paper snips and cut them. You will have to watch me cut them out because I didn't do one ahead of time. Paper snip scissors, if you don't have them, they're a great addition to your supply basket. They're super sharp. The tip can double as an embellishment pickup. You know, the epoxy embellishments, maybe I'll show you that. I won't use the paper piercing tip, I'll use the paper snips tip. And then, since the blades are super sharp and thin, they allow you to cut out the fussy cut stuff with precision. What else can I tell you here? You'll have an extra piece of designer series paper to do with what you want. Like I noted in the beginning, I like to try to get to as close to that 2 ounces as I can, while also making sure the envelope is less than 1/4 inch thick. Otherwise I have to pay more postage than for a 2 ounce. Okay, there's that. I popped these up. And I'm gonna grab my crappy scissors because if I don't have the edges of ones, I cut them like that. And then the A just need 1/4 of a one. There. Make sure that you have checked your email. Well, you have gotten this link, so your email will have a link to this YouTube video, obviously, and then there'll also be that PDF tutorial that I'll email you with this technique that has 19 other samples. So it kind of gives you ideas to use your own supplies using this technique after you've made your kits. Just a note. Okay, last would be our embellishments. We've got the garden epoxy dots or the strawberries and dots. So I've already used the strawberries and dots because there's strawberry on there. Let's use the garden epoxy. And I did 2 strawberries there and then the dots right there. So let's see what I want to do for this. We've got a strip, so that's what I have to work with. I'm going to put one big dot. See, I'm using the tip of the paper snips right there. Right there. Right there, right there. How about just right there? And then I think that's it. Since I only gave you a strip, you've just got one of each color to work with. And I like my stuff to be symmetrical, so that's it for that one. What you could do is always power of 3. You could put, let's just do it so you can see what it looks like. There. And 3 different colors, the yellow one. There, I like that. You can just kind of tell there's a little bit of a flower on that. Okay, so you have one more kit to make. Actually, you've got 2 more kits to make, so go back and look at your PDF to get the measurements on how to cut everything if you haven't already cut it, or rewind my video. Alright, so thanks for purchasing my Flipped Triangle Kits in the Mail for April 2026. My kits in the mail change each month. Sometimes I miss a month or sometimes it's every 6 weeks. But if you subscribe to my blog or my Facebook page or my YouTube channel, usually you'll get an announcement on one of those sites that I've got some new kits up and they're available for purchase. Again, thanks for stamping with me, and we'll stamp with you soon. Bye.